But I think there's a real chance that Bitcoin will be that better money,
Yeah.
thermodynamically perfect money. And yeah, and then of course stock flow model is done or must be changed in that the dollar is not. Yeah, we cannot measure it in dollars anymore, and Bitcoin should shift to the denominator of all other assets. And so really interesting times ahead. The entire reason that we have a model is to protect against our own emotions, right? Because I know very well how I felt during that entire 3-year period. And in a way, you know that in the depth of the COVID crisis or the China crisis, you feel bearish, very bearish. And you're tempted to sell everything. And I think the world falls apart. But that's when the model saves you, right? Bitcoin is not a company like Google and Amazon, but more like a commodity or a currency, and money in the end. By the way, I do think that we will have a super cycle or hyper Bitcoinization event eventually, when after the next halving we surpass the stock to flow ratio of real estate, stock to flow ratio of 100. Then it will become the most scarce asset in the world, and probably also the most valuable asset with the highest market value, above 100 trillion US dollars. Hence my name. So yeah, and that's where the stock to flow model sort of ends, right? That's where we have no data anymore. Then we're in terra incognita. We don't know what a stock to flow asset of 200 will be worth, and probably that means that asset will be the de facto money. And right now if we look at that chart on the y-axis, we denominate Bitcoin in dollars, but that will probably not make sense anymore at that time, and probably indeed the dollar might be replaced by something else, Bitcoin or the special drawing rights of the IMF or something else. And of course, all the gold investors hope that will be a gold-backed thing, gold-backed world currency. But I think there's a real chance that Bitcoin will be that better money, thermodynamically perfect money. And yeah, and then of course, stock flow model is done or must be changed in that the dollar is not. Yeah, we cannot measure it in dollars anymore, and Bitcoin should shift to the denominator of all other assets. And so really interesting times ahead. So and it would also solve the debt problem, right? The huge debt problem that especially the US, but also most European countries have. And that's a very interesting thing because indeed the global bond market is also about 100 trillion US dollars. Just like the real estate market. So if you could wipe out that debt by introducing a new currency, that would fix a lot of things for the US. However, the debt of one person is another one's asset. So, for example, all the pensions often are invested in most of the treasury bonds. And of course, a lot of U.S. Treasury bonds are in the hands of Chinese and Japan as well. So they will not like this plan very much, and they will oppose it or view it differently, or at least have a solution that doesn't hurt their assets. And I think that's one of the reasons why we see the Chinese buying all commodity mines in Africa, all harbors in the Middle East and Europe. So acquire strategically important assets with which they pay with dollars to get rid of their dollars before they get useless. So, or worthless, I should say.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information. And it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
So, yeah, I think that's a very likely scenario indeed, which will be good for Bitcoin unless they ban it, which could be the trigger for the next a bear market, if you will, in 2023 or something, that they come up with this first digital currency and to altogether ban all the on-ramps and off-ramps for Bitcoin with that currency. So, yeah, I see that as very likely, and yeah, and inevitable almost. And of course, the gold investors, they hope that that new currency, and that could be a digital a currency that will not be powered by proof of work like Bitcoin, and thus not be scarce. That new currency could be backed by gold. That's their hope. So in a way, I see, and I know a lot of gold investors, but I see gold as a call option that for that scenario, that new reserve currency that is gold backed again. In that case, gold would be revalued up overnight. But if that doesn't happen, the call option expires worthless. So it's a high stakes game, high risk game as well that the gold investors take, in my opinion. The other scenario is much more thinkable, that Bitcoin is starting to evolve an interest rate, right? With lending that's now going on, where you use Bitcoin as collateral, but also the futures market, where there's a large base or a premium between the future price of Bitcoin and the spot price of Bitcoin. And it doesn't extend that far in the future right now, because there's only futures for 1 year ahead. But if that goes farther, like futures that are 2 years, 5 years, maybe 10 years long, then you'll have a real interest rate, a yield curve, like bonds have. And that must be a very frightening thing for traditional bankers, and especially central bankers. If there's a commodity very scarce where they don't have any control over, that also develops a yield curve that's a competitor for the yield curves in treasuries. Wow, then yeah, that's the end game, I think.
Do you want to know one thing about crypto? I made over 3,000% in profit in a few weeks. Fact is, the traditional financial system, the traditional money system makes you poor, not rich. If you want to earn $500,000, $1 million, you have to wait until you're 50, 60, 70 in the traditional financial system, and you probably will still be broke. And you will be old. This is not a sexy combination, as you can imagine. But the question is, how can you start in crypto and make these profits? Where to invest? Where to start? My name is Gunnar and I'm from Germany, as you can hear, and things are a little bit different in Germany. More about that later on. Fact is, there are lots of different cryptocurrencies. It's a gigantic universe where beginners and professionals get easily lost. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are 7 key steps you need to follow to become successful in this market. You have to know them, and if you fail one of them, it's literally impossible to succeed in this market. Just an example, one of the key points is your exchange, and one of the biggest are, for example, Binance and Coinbase. These are trusted and well-established exchanges, but, and this is a big but, you won't find the super profitable coins on those exchanges. The unknown super profitable coins that get gigantic profits are not traded on those kind of exchanges. They are traded on much smaller insider platforms that are barely known. And I can tell you what those super secret exchanges are and why they are so profitable. And another super important thing are the right information sources. The point is, the internet is gigantic. There are hundreds and hundreds of YouTube channels, blogs, pages, and much, much more. And there are also market makers and influencers. For example, Elon Musk, he is not a crypto guy, but the moment he recommended Dogecoin, it went through the roof, to the moon, so to say. But why did he recommend it? Where did he hear it from? He didn't hear it from newspapers. And believe me, he is listening to someone. But you have to know who, and you have to react before he is reacting. This is really, really important. And these are only 2 of the 7 steps you have to follow in order to be successful in crypto. And if you want to know all of these steps in much more detail, and if you want to have a comprehensive checklist, here's what you should do. There is a link below this video. Click on this link and you will get the opportunity to subscribe to my channel. Click on the link and you will see a video where I explain the next steps. So see you soon. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.